OK, Freddie, what have you got for us?
So this is a question from Colin, who asks, during the election campaign, how will Conservative MPs handle explaining the terrible economy since 2019?
It's a good question, because this is going to be the first parliament on record where living standards are lower at the end than they were at the start. So what will the Conservatives say? I think there will be two main messages. One will be, yes, the economy's been through tough times, but that's been forces out of our control.
Yeah.
COVID, energy price spike from the war in Ukraine, legacy of the global crash. And they will say, we're now on the road to recovery. They'll say inflation was 11%. It's fallen dramatically. It'll probably be back to the Bank of England target rate of 2% relatively soon. They'll say GDP is growing again and is forecast to grow more strongly in future years. And they may point to interest rate cuts to come and the tax cuts they're delivering. So they will say, it's been tough, but we're on the road to recovery. Don't let Labour wreck it. It's the message they had in 92 and 2015. I think the problem is that people won't feel better off. I mean, this is Labour's Reagan question. Do you and your family feel better off or worse off than you did 5 years ago? And on multiple fronts, not just living standards, but the state of hospitals, schools, public transport, people would say, we feel worse off. We think the Conservatives bear a large share of the blame and we want change.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree with that. The problem with their messaging and talking about the global factors that mean the economy hasn't gone as well as it might have is obviously Liz Truss. I mean, that's what's blown this whole issue out of the water for the Conservatives. They can't really talk about COVID, Ukraine, whatever it might be, without Labour or a journalist or whoever it might be saying, well, you crashed the economy through the mini budget. So that's what's hanging over them, and that's going to define, I think, the perception of Conservatives and the economy for years. And we already know that Labour is going to do their best, and they're trying to squeeze it as much as they can to sort of shift the blame for the economic woes onto the Conservative Party in a way that they felt the Conservatives did to them after the crash.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I think there's a sort of one-word answer to this question. How will they handle explaining the terrible economy? And I think that one word is COVID. And I think they're going to be talking a lot about that and talking about the money spent on vaccines and how that was the right thing to do, and the money spent on furlough, Rishi Sunak's furlough scheme, back when he was popular, which is something that he didn't particularly want to do, but it was obviously very popular. You know, that was the right thing to do to protect jobs. And they're going to try and spin the whole thing as the aftermath of COVID. That's going to be the attempt. But Freddie, I think you're right in that might have been effective.
Yeah.
The Liz Truss blip, as it were, makes that very difficult to argue, even though a lot of the cost of living crisis predates Liz Truss. The crisis in mortgage rates increasing, that is something that, yes, it spiked under Liz Truss, but that was a trend that was happening anyway. But you talk to people in focus groups, they really associate their mortgage costs going up with what happened under Liz Truss, whether fairly or unfairly.
Just on COVID, it's interesting, isn't it? Because that was when Rishi Sunak was at his most popular.
Rishi.
He had all these very fawning profiles in the press. He doesn't actually talk about it that much. It's interesting. He doesn't go. He's done it a few times, but he doesn't do it that much. He doesn't go, I'm the Chancellor that got you through COVID. I'm going to get you through this period now. And I think the reason is that what he did during COVID was a huge expansion of state welfare, of state subsidy for businesses, and that completely cuts against what he's trying to say now, is that we need to reduce taxes. We need to ensure that the country has this entrepreneurial spirit. We should focus on AI and things like that. They're contradictory messages, which means that he can't use one of these main weapons in this debate to say, I am the person that saved the economy and saved all these jobs during the crisis.
George, is there a challenge here for Labour in that it's very easy to point to the economy and say the Conservatives broke it, but Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer, when they come in, are going to have to try and fix it. And if their narrative is all the Conservatives' fault, does that put them in a bit of a trap?
Yes, I think two things. I think they've got a very clear, appealing message before the election, which, as Freddie says, so much of the blame has been attributed to Liz Truss. It's an open goal for Labour, and they can say we would get the economy growing. The growth has been so mediocre, it's not hard to do better. But I think you're right that there is a problem for them, because people will throw the Reagan question back at Labour. So yes, you're saying things are improving, and I'm sure they'll point to all various metrics. But do people feel better off? And Labour will be challenged. You criticise the Tories' tax rises. Why aren't you raising tax thresholds in line with inflation? Their get-out clause will be, well, we're cleaning up the mess that we inherited, which was the line that George Osborne deployed very effectively against Ed Miliband as Chancellor. The open question is, how long is their grace period? How patient are voters? And if things don't improve as quickly as they'd like, will they blame Labour for it and decide that the country needs to change? Or will they give them the benefit of the doubt because Labour will say, don't go back to the party that gave you Liz Truss and blew up the economy?
Thanks so much for watching. We'd love to know what you think. Please make sure you leave your comments below. And if you enjoyed watching this podcast, you can watch more of our videos on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe.